You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at SBT Songs, or check us out at chrisblair.com. This week's guest, I'm really excited to share with you. He moved to Nashville from East Tennessee, and he's got songs that he's written for Ryan Hurd, Kameron Marlowe, Darius Rucker, just a great guy. He's also got songs that he's put out on his own, and we're going to dive into all of that. Brinley Addington is this week's guest. He's been playing at the Listening Room since 2008. Just loved sharing a little bit of a story. Let's get to it. Here is Brinley Addington. All right, welcome back. We are here for another week of Stories Behind the Songs. Brinley Addington in the house. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, absolutely. Thanks for coming in. There's a lot I want to dive into. You've written some amazing songs. You've also got an amazing project as an artist yourself. So I want to dive all into that. But as I do every episode, let's just start from the beginning. And you grew up in East Tennessee. How did you get into music in the first place? And then take me through the progression of getting to Nashville.
Yeah, I grew up in Kingsport, Tennessee. And so that's about 4.5 hours northeast of Nashville. If you're in Knoxville, it's an hour and a half northeast of there. Near Bristol, Johnson City, a lot of just rich musical heritage up there. Obviously, Bristol's the birthplace of country music, and Carter family, Jimmy Rogers, that kind of thing. And a lot of bluegrass, a lot of, Appalachian, kind of rooted music. So that was kind of always around. And, growing up in East Tennessee, hear music in church, but, a lot of country music, kind of running through the veins there. But when I was about 3 years old, my grandparents brought, me and my mom, my dad. My mom's got 2 sisters, their husbands. So there's, good little pile of us came down and did the Opryland and the Grand Ole Opry. And, apparently that day I was kind of fussy. And then, they take me to the Grand Ole Opry. The curtain goes up. There stands Porter Wagner. And I am just like locked in, at this point. And like, just what is this? What is this thing? And said after that, that's all I want to do is listen to music. And, my
How old were you then?
I was 3.
Okay.
And my papa got me this little toy guitar, and I carry that thing everywhere, and would pretend I was playing on the Opry, standing on the coffee table at home. And just as you grow, I started singing in church, and I think that kind of supportive community kind of got me more interested in just like, okay, I could do this, the singing part of it at least. And that's kind of how the goal started. But yeah, I moved here when I was 17. I started out at MTSU, did 2 years there, and then transferred to Belmont to be in Nashville. Started, kind of figuring my way out. And it's kind of how music started for me was just, was started with the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
Seeing that, and then being hooked on country music and the influence that my parents already listened to country music. Aunts and uncles were, big into it too. And were good influences as far as country, learning how that, how the ropes went.
Yeah. What was it like for you when you first moved to town, like building your community?
It was kind of like, I felt like it was a challenge at first. At MTSU, I found it, I had a really good group of friends, but I didn't have many that were even interested in country music. Yeah, maybe casual listeners, but none that were really pursuing it the way that I was. And when I came to Belmont, I got very lucky that, I got randomly assigned to some roommates that were really, really connected. And they all had friends like, oh, he's a guitar player, and he's a steel player. And the steel player situation was, I saw a guy dragging one across the parking lot. I'm like, hey, do you want to be in my band? And want to be friends, So Belmont really helped me meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, whether that be, other songwriters or artists or musicians, future managers, future publishers. And I give Belmont a lot of credit for just knowing people. A lot of my friends I made there, I'm still dear friends with now, and still work together with a lot of them.
Yeah. So when you moved to town, like, were you writing already, or have like that dream of writing, or was it solely just, hey, like, I want to do this as an artist?
That's how it started, but I was writing. I was trying to write songs for me to sing. And I had met through, I forget, my mom saw some ad in the paper that a Nashville songwriter was coming to Kingsport to do a workshop. And his name was Steve Leslie. He's an incredible writer.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And look him up, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't aren't familiar with his work. He did a workshop in my hometown, which is where his wife is from, which is just incredibly small, the world's too small kind of thing. And I went and, I took a bunch of notes, and he's like, if you're ever in Nashville, and I'm just annoying enough that like, I will, if you give me your phone number, I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
I was that kid. I'm like, cool. Yeah. Like we're going to be best friends, being this guy, and I remember like going to try to meet him for coffee the first time I came, and I went to he said, yes, the Starbucks on Old Hickory. And it's like, that's just a big giant loop. And so I got lost and like was an hour late, and he was still super nice about it. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. The horror of being an hour late, and like my career's over before I even got started at 17 or however old I was. And so I come in from Murfreesboro, and Steve would kind of mentor me and write with me and introduce me to folks, and even just get coffee and answer my dumb questions, which was so helpful. But that's kind of where it started for me. And, notepad and paper, trying to just get feelings out that a, young kid might have. And, but it was always just trying to have something to sing. But I've always been such a fan of stories and, the storytelling atmosphere of that. And, so that always pulled, I think I was always a writer and didn't know it. And I, obviously just wanted to sing and be out front, but, I definitely enjoy the writing a lot more.
Yeah. Well, you're really good at it. I want to dive into, you've written some great songs, Kameron Marlowe, Darius Rucker, Ryan Hurd. And I want to dive into that, but let's stay on your artist career a little bit. Like take me through like what the early days were like on the road. Just how that process went for you.
We were living in the lap of luxury. We were just, no, we were, man, I wanted to play so bad. When I got here, especially, I'd been playing like little fairs and festivals back home, people we knew through the community and everything, like, oh, he's the kid that plays, there weren't too many, and I had a really good band back home too. But like, you come here, you got to find your group, and found my group at Belmont, and, kind of the friends of friends there. And I would take anything. I like, if they're paying, I'm playing. This was my old motto, and still is. We're available for booking if, check out BrinleyAddington.com. Got plug.
We'll put booking notes in
booking note, put it there at the bottom, the graphic. I was just so eager. I remember that, and I think about that now. I'm like, what was I doing? But I was so eager, and we did the whole. We started on Broadway, doing the 10 to 2 sets and no breaks and $40 a night in the tip jar, split 5 ways, and, all that stuff. And we kind of built that into a thing. And we found out, Tin Roof here in town had multiple locations that kind of did the same thing and paid a little bit more. And for graduation of Belmont, my grandfather helped me get a van. And that, I was like, cool, we are going on the road. I was like, this is a giant obstacle out of the way. It's one of the greatest gifts anybody ever, I was shocked. And it was older, and it, had its personality traits, but it helped us get on the road. And we, took the back seat out, crammed all the gear in there that we could. We were in there. It was a 15 passenger, but we had it rigged to be as, much of a cargo van as we could. And we went all over the Southeast, fraternity and sorority parties, anything that, any festival that we could get our hands on. We were, I was reaching out all the time,
So that was the question. Were you doing all the booking?
I was at first. I reached out to, I spammed everybody I possibly could. I had a little stock little thing. I would change the person's name at the top and like, hello, fill in the blank. This is my whole story. Here's some music. Here's what I've done. And you just trying to hustle to get out there. I loved doing that too. Yeah. And I love it when I see, young acts doing that now. It makes me like fired up. And of course I'm old school about that. There's other ways to do it now, but I see that now and I get really fired up. But I did that for, I don't know, a good solid 7-8 years, and, really never graduated from the van and trailer. And I didn't want to. I enjoyed it. I had fun, and, till you're sleeping on a bench seat and you hit a bump and the seat buckle goes into your spine, and then you're just like, is that why my back still hurts? But it was such a fun time in life, and then we got to opening some fairs and festivals from bigger artists. Got to working with a booking agent at a certain point, but I still always I would get texts or emails like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I'm like, "I'm not doing anything. Let's do it." You know? I wanted to be gone as much as possible in those days.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember the days when I was on the road doing that stuff, and I loved that piece of it too. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the industry knows me as Chris Blair. Blair is my middle name. So I would do the same thing, and I would do all my booking, but I would reach out to all these places as my last name, Shessel. Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Hey, this is Chris Shessel. I'm representing this guy, Chris Blair." Act like I was the manager, but it was the same thing. And it was just so much fun. But yeah, man, so many great memories of being on the road and just, staying in crappy hotels, but, or motels, but it's just the experience. Like, what would you say, your time doing that in the early days? Like, what was the coolest venue or place that you ever went to?
Talking about your booking alias, I had a guy named Kevin Smith. He wasn't real, but Kevin Smith was my guy. And I was just like, I just need a name that's easy to remember. And then I actually, funny enough, ended up with a drummer named Kevin Smith. And people would talk to him all the time.
That's funny.
Like, you said we all were, and then whatever. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Which that ended up being kind of funny. But coolest venue, man. The one particular that I remember, the one I think of probably more than anything, is we opened for Chris Young at the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, and it was sold out. It was the first time I'd ever it's pretty much one of those stages you're kind of surrounded. Yeah. And the balcony's kind of low, so you're almost eye level with the balcony, and the floor is just full of people. And I'm opening, and there was we were kind of wrapping the last one up. And kind of got an encore situation. I'm like, I'm not supposed to do this, but and I'm like, I don't want to, piss the headliner off, but I'm like, what if I die tonight? Yeah. And I'm like, one more ain't going to kill anybody. And I don't know. We rattled one off, and I ran off stage, and I had to run upstairs and ask for forgiveness from Chris and his tour manager. And Chris was like, "Oh, did you go over?" And I was like, "Oh, well, thank goodness." But it was super nice about it. But that was special. I felt like that was the most rowdy crowd I'd ever got to be in front of. I got to play in my hometown. Got to open for Marty Stewart in front of 8,000 people because it was a free show. Yeah. But I just felt like that was the top of the world. I'm like, all the hometown, see, I told you guys. And, that's right. That was a cool moment. And of course, Marty Stewart's incredible. So that was one of my favorites.
Yeah. I love it. All right, let's shift into songwriting. Cause as I said, you've got some great songs. Let's start with Chasing After You. Just such a great song. Take me into the writer's room. How did the idea come up? And what was the process of writing that song?
Well, I wrote that song with Jerry Flowers, and I never met Jerry. Just set up through our publishers. I think however it happened, it just was publishers made it happen. Yeah. And I was familiar with Jerry because obviously I was a huge Keith Urban fan. I was a huge fan of The Ranch, their old band. I love that CD. I still love that album. I had that CD in my car for forever. Only took it out because I have a car that doesn't have a CD player. But I don't know. I just remember walking up the stairs. It was at Combustion Music, and I just hear this riff. Jerry's one of the most musical people you've ever met in your life, and you've had him play here, and it's amazing. Plays multiple instruments. He's sitting there on acoustic guitar playing the riff, and the signature riff that you hear on the record is the Jerry Flowers written riff. And I just I feel like I came through the door I always say I came through like the Kool-Aid Man, just bust through the wall. I'm like, "Hi, I'm Brinley. What is that?" And we have to do that. And so we sit for an hour and do the get to know you thing, and where I'm from, where he's from. A couple of cool road stories, and I'm still young. I mean, she was 2014, so it's 11 years ago. And I'm I'm just getting confident as a writer. I feel like I've done it enough. I signed my first pub deal in like 2012. So like I'm like 2 years of really honing it. And I'm starting to like the light has come on a little bit. And that lick is so good and so pure and I'm like, I've never heard anything like this. And he's just kind of singing over top of it. And I'm like, man, I don't want to screw this up. Like, I feel like this is an incredible opportunity. And I'm like, and we just kind of got silent for a really long time because we couldn't like kind of wrangle it. And I was like, we can both agree this is like a bedroom song, right? And Jerry's like, oh, absolutely. It's a sexy thing. Yeah, like absolutely. And I was like, it's like a you come over when your wine's all gone kind of thing. And he was like, yeah. And he sings, you come over when your wine's all gone over that lick. And I was like, well, that's that. I mean, and then like, I feel like 45 minutes later, we like blinked and we're like, okay, I guess that's what we're going to do. And it's a super simple song. I mean, the last verse is the first verse.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm a big believer in recycling. I don't know. It was natural. And it's like, what would you say to this person? And those are my favorite songs, the ones that are conversational anyway. But we were just kind of swapping experiences and swapping stories back and forth. And I was like, what about this? And this is what I would say. And then this is what had happened to me. And it was real, but it was also sort of fictional. And like, yeah, but like we were imagining this situation because everybody's like, who's that about? And I'm like, I don't know that it's really about anybody, but like it was just such a clear picture of where the story needed to go. And I mean, maybe it's a God thing, but like it just went where it was supposed to go. And it took a long time to get where it was supposed to go, but that's how writing it went. And we talk about that now, and like it's still my favorite thing I've ever been a part of. And
yeah.
I know Jerry, I think, is pretty high up there for Jerry too. I don't want to speak for him, but yeah, it's still such a special song.
Yeah. You want to play a little bit of it?
I sure do. You come over when your wine's all gone. You always catch me when I'm not that strong. You wind up staying all night long. It ain't nothing new. Then I wake up with you on my chest. You got a way of making me forget. With you the answer's always yes, anytime you call. But I know, yeah, I know it's a matter of time till you walk back out of my life. Leave me standing here lonely, feeling like a fool. Every time you say we're done, you come back to the love you're running from. Don't know why I let you, but I do. Guess I love chasing after you.
So good, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Just one of those that just, every time you hear it, it's just, yeah, it's one of those songs that's just never going to get old. So,
well, I hope not.
that was your first number one.
It was.
So man, like, yeah, how was that ride? Like after Ryan puts it out, like, and you're watching it go up the charts. I mean, I love hearing, from writers' perspectives, you know, what that feeling's like as you're watching it rise.
It was such a roller coaster because like before Ryan put it out, I mean, it had been on hold and off hold for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it'd been held by a ton of people. You know, it'd been held by Keith Urban, Tim McGraw, Little Big Town, Billy Currington. And like almost, it got so close so many times. It had been cut. Keith cut it twice, I think. Ryan cut it twice. Once it was just as like just him singing it by himself, and got to hear that and got all excited. And then time went by, and yeah, it was a crazy, like, by the time he held it, I was so like, maybe the song's not as good as I think it is. And I still believed, but I was like, man, this, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And he kind of just had to let go of it. And he texted me like right before Christmas, like I guess it would have been 2020, and said like, "Hey, check your email," or he texted me or something, and I just listened to it over and over and over, and it's the version that's out now, and it just was so special and different and just right. And I never really thought of it as a duet, but like it was kind of always meant to be a duet. And I know it was a special song to him and Maren, when they were first getting started dating, and like for it to come full circle in the way that it did and the way that it timed out the way it did was perfect. And it was like, 7 years from writing it to having it happen, which was almost exactly about 10 years, as the old saying goes, about
town,
something about the town being 10 years, something like that. I didn't believe in that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right, but it was special. And you get to that point and there's a relief of getting the monkey off your back, but all this years of believing, and again coming to town as an artist, making the change just to write songs. It kind of validated me as a songwriter. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy for letting the other thing go. I'm not, wrong for leaving my hometown. All the things I've, family wise, I missed. This is like, I was right. I was on the right path. And even though it took longer than I would have liked, and I hope it's not that long before the next one, but it was exactly how it was supposed to happen. It found the exact artists it was supposed to find. And the crazy part was, like, I played it in a round back in 2014 with Ryan, and he's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Like, and just how he even, put it on hold was he called me and said, "Hey, whatever happened to that?" And like, 6 or 7 years later, and just always special to win with your friends too.
Yeah.
So, I've known him since college, and, always just good to win with your buddies.
I think Scott Borchetta is probably like, he probably heard that song, was like, "Hey, Brinley's only been here for 7 years. Let's just, chew it up and spit it out again. Let's just, we got to wait until you're right there."
He deserves this. Just go ahead and put him on hold, like right. Him on hold as a human.
Yeah, man, it is rough the way that stuff happens sometimes, especially with multiple artists, and you like, man. So I want to talk a little bit more about Ryan, but let's just hit on that, because I always like trying to find little bits of advice for people that are listening that are, new to town, new to songwriting, chasing the artist career, whatever. Like what is that like, and what have you learned of, just the ups and downs that we have to face every day in this industry?
Yeah, you just have to want it. And like, my joke was always like, man, I'm going to just stay till everybody else goes home. And it's like, it started as a joke, and somebody like, haha, and I'm like, no, it's kind of turned into a battle cry for me. Yeah. It's like, you got to want to be here. Must be present to win. And, I can't remember all of it, but that old Waylon Jennings quote, like, the music's got to matter to you, and you got to want it. Yeah. Because it'll, this town is, I forget who said this, but offers you everything and owes you nothing. And so you really have to want to be here. And I want to be here. And that's my advice, is like, if you think you might want to be a songwriter, must be present to win. The best songwriters in the world live here. Yeah. No disrespect to New York, LA, and everywhere else, but like, I really do believe that. A little biased, but I really believe it in my heart. But yeah, and surround yourself with great people. Like, the old adage, I'm quoting everybody else, is you are the company you keep. And, finding your crew, finding the people to grow up with. I've been so blessed with that, and falling into that group of writers and producers and publishers and, just friends that have helped me grow up, as a writer and as a person. So
good.
Yeah. Find your tribe.
That's right. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Sennheiser microphones. When we first started this podcast, we were using some older microphones, and Sennheiser came in and sponsored us and gave us some MK4s and 914s. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's made all of the difference in the world. We love these microphones. We use them at the listening room as well. And I just can't say enough great things about them. Go check out Sennheiser.com. If you are into music in any way, their microphones are hands down the best on the planet. Go check them out, Sennheiser.com. And thank you, Sennheiser, for the support and the sponsorship. We love y'all.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. I mean, you've had multiple songs that have been recorded by Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, I mean, that friendship goes back to college. So, you want to talk about any of those stories and kind of what's going on with the new album he just put out and all that?
It's really cool to be a part of that new project. It was so intentional what he and our good friend Aaron S. Heist did. Aaron produced it, and I mean, they've been making music together since high school. So like to feel like, it's Midwest rock and roll and I'm from the Southeast. So it's like to get to be a part of the Midwest for a little bit, honorary Midwesterner for a minute. It was kind of cool. And I don't think I knew we were doing that, but like it would he had a very clear vision of what he was doing. And on our song Single in the Same Town, like, we name drop the Hangar Bar, which is a bar that they used to go to. First line of the song is Hangar Bar down 43, and that's how you get there.
Yeah.
And that was special. It's like real, like there's stories and, and the story I always tell with, and I'm still kind of learning to play this one, but, I tried it here one night and everybody thought it was just like a comedy song, but, This Party Sucks, which has its comedy too.
Yeah.
But Ryan brought that idea in, and like it was one of those days. Like I feel like everybody's kind of moving a little slow, and he's like, "I got this idea called This Party Sucks." I'm like, "Oh man, we're not going to write a song today." He's not in a good mood, or something happened I didn't know. Like like what's going on here, and then like it slowly starts unraveling and revealing itself. It's like, "Oh, this is going to be a blast," and like lightning strikes, and then off we go. And that song was so fun to be a part of. It's so different than like what I do as a songwriter. And, you want to believe you can do all kinds of things, but that was such a Ryan Hurd song, and writing with our friend Ryan Beaver, David Garcia. And, just like we all just kind of got in the car and went with him, and it was cool. And we just had fun, and we didn't give ourselves any rules. And it's fun to write that way sometimes. Sometimes you got to aim right at the target.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can kind of deviate and go off on your own. And that was one of those times. And I was like, man, this is fun, and nothing will probably happen because nobody, wants to hear sucks on the radio or whatever. But I was like, there's worse things you could say for sure.
Yeah.
And so to have that be a part of the album and be, a focus track was really special. And again, just it feels like winning with your friends. And there's just nothing better.
Yeah. That whole album too, man, just from top to bottom is just so good.
Unique.
Yeah.
There's not been anything like that in a while, and he's getting a lot of love for it. And it's just, as a friend, I'm just glad to see him get that recognition.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's go into The Room for Stargazing.
Okay. Yeah, wrote that with Darius Rucker, which, I mean, like, just to be able to say I've written a song with Darius Rucker, it's pretty cool. Deal. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it was whatever. Never heard of him before that. Yeah, like, everybody's heard of Darius Rucker. It's so incredible. My friends Matthew Morrissey, Jess Kane, as part of it, we were doing kind of like a retreat to write for Darius, and we had prepped a lot of stuff, and we kind of, Jess and Matt and I knew that we were going to be that combo for this retreat. And so we prepped like a fun beach song and a tempo, and we kind of got down to the end. I was like, well, let's have one like slow song. We kind of had this waltzy kind of thing, bare bones of stargazing. And right before we go in, they're like, guys, and that was our favorite because we're all sad sacks and we love those waltzy, old school songs. And I do especially, and it's probably my fault we wrote it, like, went that way in the first place. But it's not a sad song, but they're like, no slow songs. We got our ballads covered for the record, and I write it. Spirit, Frank Rogers is the boss. He's also producing this record, so he knows, like, and I'm like, okay, the boss says we're not going to cut any slow songs, so let's pitch the other 4. So we write one, and we're kind of done, and he stepped out of the room for take a call or something. And I didn't know Jess was going to do this. I had no idea. And I'm so glad she did. And she's like, I still love stargazing. Wish we would have got a chance. And I was like, yeah, maybe somebody else will want it, And we're kind of wrapping up. He sings the scratch vocal, which, like, you're in the room, like, Darius's scratch vocal you could just use. He's just that good. And so Jess just kind of blurts out, like, we have this other idea called stargazing. And she's like she was like, it just leapt out of her mouth. And he was like, let me hear it. And he loved it. And like, had like forgot completely about the first one. Like got so invested. He had to be somewhere, and he was like, "I'll just be late. Like it's fine."
Wow.
And like wanted to stay, and I think he was playing golf or something. And but he just stayed and like really got invested. And we had little pieces, and he like literally like had all the fill in the blank part, and just really like made it his own. And then again, just him singing anything sounds right because he's such a legend.
Yeah.
But it just came together. It like, I'm so glad whatever impulse drove her to blurt that out was the one we needed. And we were just like, wow, okay, well, we got to with him. I don't know how, we're at this kind of camp thing, and I'm like, I don't know how
and
many
someone else got dropped.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like somebody else's song fell off the album, but wasn't mine, so not my problem. No, I'm kidding. But we were just honored. It was the last song of the album. He named the album after his mom. It was a super special album, and it just felt cool to have the kind of period at the end of the sentence for that one. And Frank told us it was one of his favorites that he cut for that project. So that just, I don't know, the surprises of all this are like, wow, okay, I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah.
And I do love that one.
When you're in a room, what's your go-to? Do you consider yourself more of the lyricist, idea guy, or the music?
I'm a lyricist, idea guy. The occasional vocal melody will come to me, but I listen to the same things for my whole life. So I kind of am. I won't say pigeonholed. I've tried to broaden my horizons more recently, but I love a lyric. I love a story. I want to make sure the story's airtight. I want to make sure the words pocket well. Yeah. And that's something in the room too, like with the young artists that I feel like I help with is like, hey, wait just a second before you sing that part, and it's going to hit a certain way, and it's going to trigger this old country emotion, and some of my co-writers that maybe didn't listen to what I did growing up get frustrated with me because they're like, why are you doing that? I'm like, just trust me. It's going to remind them of this song I used to sing when I was 7 years old. Like, just trust it. And I don't always win that battle, but, that kind of thing and like style of that, I think is part of it. I don't know if that's, a thing, but lyrics and vocals and just the story. I always want to have a good story.
Yeah. I love it. I want to talk a little bit about Kameron as well. And then I want to go into your new project. But let's talk about one more.
Yeah.
Take me into the room.
That was a day, and again, talk about must be present to win. I was not supposed to be in that room. I think I might have been between deals, or I had just started at Spirit, if I remember correctly, and I'd have to go back and look. But I got canceled, and I texted my buddy Andrew Cohen, who had at the time was working with Kameron in management and had kind of found Kameron, and I was like, man, you got anything today? I've kind of asked around. I didn't have any co-writes really. And then he said, hey, my buddies Joey Hyde and Aaron S. Heiss are writing with this guy, Kameron Marlowe. He's really great. And he sent me his song, Giving You Up, which was kind of going through the roof virally at the time. And I was like, yeah, this kid's got a great voice. I'd love to write with him. And so I just kind of last minute jumped on I think it was the day before. And they're like, yeah, come on. It was great about your friends. They're like, yeah, more the merrier, whatever. And it was so, obviously I'm so comfortable with Aaron and Joey. I've known those guys for 15, almost 20 years. And so it was just immediately comfortable. And like, we like to write fun songs. And, Aaron was producing that day, running the tracks and, building the demo. And he's a great lyricist too. But like, Joey was kind of guitar man that day. And he is one of the most gifted guitar players in town. And a great producer as well. But just our roles were kind of defined that day. It's like, I'm going to be lyric man, he's guitar man, he's producer man, and this is our artist. And it was just like, it's like a basketball team. When you know what you're supposed to be doing, everybody does their job. You might mess around and be accidentally good at something. And Kameron just is one of those guys too. Like everything he sings sounds right because his voice is so good.
Yeah, he's so good.
And we just kind of started throwing pictures out, and like Burn 'Em All sounded like something like, I don't know what that is, but like that's something, it's like, well, it's, it's gas, it's money.
So the idea came up in the room. It wasn't okay.
I think so. I think it's been a while. I think it might've been a Joey idea, but, it was like we wanted something like fire, tough, manly stuff. And it's like, yeah, we're going to burn some money. We're going to burn some cigarettes. We're going to burn, the night, and I was like, okay, now I like this. And it was just like, put the color in it, like to just, we got a pack of Marlboros in a jacket thrown over the front seat. And we got, worn out Goodyears on a Chevy, and that kind of thing. It's like, we're burning rubber, we're burning everything. And just like, let's just, live a night till there's nothing left. And to me, that's fun. I don't know who that's not fun to.
Yeah.
And the coolest part about that is obviously Cameron gets to see it every night that he plays, but like, me, Joey, Aaron have gotten to go see that live, and just like live is a monster. It wasn't a radio hit or anything, but you would think, like, having seen Ryan play a radio hit of mine and seeing other radio hits be played, not just my songs, but like the feeling is the exact same, and people singing every word and holding their beers up and grabbing their girl and, fist pumping and all that stuff. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. Yeah. So I'm always so proud of that one. It's always so fun to pull that one out and play it.
Yeah.
So,
You want to do a little bit of that one?
Yeah, sure.
It's always fun when you do that one here and gets a good response.
Oh, yeah. It's always the one I start with, usually, because I know it so well, and I'm like, cool, get off on a good foot, and then you can move on to the ones you'll probably forget the words of. So thanks for asking to play this one. This is one I know. There's a pack of Marlboro Reds in my jacket pocket, thrown over the shotgun seat in my truck, waiting on the right time, right state of mind. Hell, I found it. Tonight we gonna burn them all. Got a time card saying 50 hours running. All my buddies at the bar said, come on down. Got a couple brand new 20s in my wallet. Yeah, boys, I got it. Tonight we gonna burn them all. Pour the gas, light the match, set the night on fire. Set the blaze, let the flames get higher. Every cigarette, every dollar, every problem you got on you from a town this small. Tonight we gonna burn them all.
Come on. I love it, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Oh, dude. All right. We got to talk about, we got a few minutes left here. I want to dive into, Nobody's Favorite.
All right.
And just the creative process of you deciding to put an album out, and all that. And then just how cool it was that we got to do the album release party right here at the listening room. That was really special.
So special. Having been an artist and having put out records before, this was what it was the first record I put out as a songwriter. And people were like, oh, he's like rebooting the artist career. He's going back out there. Here he goes again, trying to get a record deal. I'm like, absolutely not. This is for me. This is for fun. These are songs that I have, a lot of them, it strangely came from 2016. I don't know what happened in 2016. I was near the right, power plant or whatever that, was facing the right direction, the stars, Zodiac, whatever. But was right that year. And I just love those songs. There's some newer ones on there. And but I just like, man, I love these songs, and they've sat around long enough. And I was a little frustrated with writing at the time, honestly. Like, I wanted to do something creative, but I was like, man, I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels as a writer. And right about that time, my buddy Neil Medley had put out his project, which was cool. We got to do his release party here too, and I got to play that night, and it was so special. But I don't know why, I was just in a funk, and he sent me a link to his album. I was over in London, actually. I was just taking a trip. That was my chasing after you reward to myself, was like, I always wanted to go to London. And I was walking around. He sent me this link. I walked around all day listening to that album. I listened to it probably 4 times. And I was like, there's just something special about this. And he made it with our friend Aaron S. Heiss. This is me plugging Aaron S. Heiss once again, who is one of the best producers in town. And I texted Neil and told him how great, I thought it was. And I texted Aaron and I was like, dude, y'all crush this. This is awesome. And he's like, you're next. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And Aaron's been a part of every record I've ever made. And in some way, shape, form, or fashion, he's been, producer for most of it. And, I've always had a song we've written or 2 or 3 on every project we've done. And always he's been a big supporter of mine, so I always appreciate working with him. And he offered it up and was like, hey, why don't we do it? Let's do it. I've got some time here. Let's do it. And I don't know. I was just itching to do something different. And I had all these songs I loved. And I was, I had this title too. And it kind of all came together after I met my now wife. I had the title Nobody's Favorite in my phone, and I could not figure out how to write it. As the guy who's a little frustrated with the business, it seemed like the easy route to be like, well, nobody likes me. Nobody wants to cut my songs. Nobody wanted to give me a record deal, all this stuff. It felt, and I could not get anybody to write it with me because it was so negative, and I was being so negative.
Yeah.
But after meeting her, things start changing and things get better as meeting the right one will do.
Yep.
And I'm writing with Neil, actually, and our friend Ryan Beaver. And we were writing another song, which I think that one's still great too. I think Beaver needs to put it out. So Beaver, get on it.
There you go.
Challenge,
let's go.
Challenge thrown down, gauntlet thrown down. But it hit me in the middle of this other song. It's like, oh my gosh, I was nobody's favorite till you came along. And I was like, okay. And like these songs, like we wrote that song that day and I had it and we wrote it super quick. And it's one of my favorite songs. First song I ever wrote for my wife. And, played it for her. She loved it. And like, I never really told her I was going to cut it or anything.
Yeah.
And it just like stood out. I didn't have a title because none of the songs, like, the albums that are titled after songs, like, I didn't need to be some like crazy, appropriate songwriter album, title. But I was like, man, these songs kind of were nobody's favorite but mine. And even since I put that out, people are like, man, this is awesome. I never heard this. I'm like, you were my publisher then and you didn't hear it? like, where's this one? I was like, it's literally our song.
Yeah. I asked you to pitch that song. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I played for that in the car for you. Like we were in person.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's like I played that on my birthday, whatever the thing is, but people have come up about certain things, and I cut 2 outside songs on the project, just songs that I loved. I was like, gosh, these are hit songs.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just, it was so good for me. And it was a little challenging. Like I put it out during, the year we got married. So I was juggling that and, trying to help and, with our wedding and stuff. But it was just really nice. And like, you work hard on these songs. Like you want to see them have a life. And I'm sure all the other writers would have preferred, somebody more successful record them. But I was, they were nice enough to let me do it. And I'm always going to be proud of that project and proud of what it's done for me. And it just got me excited about writing again, is watching people respond to the songs. Like, okay, cool. I've got more to say. And yeah, we got to do our album release because this room right here is just, such a special place for songwriters. For people to sit and listen and take that in. There's only a few places in the world like that, I feel like, and that could even understand that. And so this was just the place from the get-go of what we wanted to do. I'm like, no, we don't need to make it anything other than a really great songwriter show. And there's, that's what y'all do here. That's what y'all are in the business of, great songwriter shows. So I always appreciate y'all having me.
We appreciate you. And I mean, everybody that plays the stage. I mean, it's why we do what we do. So
yeah, man, it's special, man. We stand right over there on those stairs and we wait for JT Harding to tell us it's time to come on stage.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, and it's, I get excited. It's like running through the tunnel, like on a big football game or something. And I'm like, yes, okay, this is our, playing. And I love that. And, looking forward to the next one.
That's right. What is next for you?
Man, hopefully write some more songs, and we're going to play some shows this summer. And, man, just try to hang on, try to keep doing what I'm doing. I've entered a season of kind of renewed enjoyment of what I'm doing some things different, trying some new things, trying some new writers, trying some old favorites. And, it's been really good. I don't know, just hanging on and having fun.
So you're getting out there and doing some shows on your own too, outside of just the songwriting thing?
Yeah. Well, they're mostly songwriter festivals or,
sure,
that kind of sort of thing. And like, we're doing, a thing with Neil and Beaver up in Louisville, Kentucky on April 26th. Please buy your tickets. It's a thing he's doing. It's a hometown show. We did one last year, and it's a nice little theater up there, and it's kind of recreating this for people in different other places that maybe don't get to come to Nashville and see this. I really have a passion for that. I was like, this is so cool. I remember seeing some of my first songwriter shows, and I'm just like, whoa, this is amazing. And so we're figuring, that's kind of my goal, is figure out how to take this to as many different places as possible. And, when it makes sense, but I always love playing. I always love getting out there, and, I always love chasing an idea too. So we're just chasing ideas and hopefully get to play what we write.
Yep. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, who would you say, like your dream collab would be?
Oh my goodness. I would be entirely too afraid, but, I just want to just leave it as I know it. But I think if I got the opportunity, and we were talking about this yesterday, my wife and I, because she really hadn't listened to as much as I have, but I think what made me start thinking about songwriting was listening to James Taylor. My dad had his greatest hits record, and just hearing the way he does things, was like, wait a minute. I guess as a kid, you think they just get in there and stand around the microphone until something happens. Kind of like the way the Beatles made records.
Yeah.
They wrote those songs all over the place, but that's how I imagined it in my head. But then I was like, wait, no, this guy sits down and he gets a pen and paper, and these words are too smart, and that made me think about writing. I think just being in the room and being able to see kind of how he does it, or just to learn something and pick something up. But man, country music wise, I don't know. I feel like I always just love being in the room with who I'm with, and we all have and I've gotten to write with a few of my heroes, but I'm always just happy to be here.
Yeah.
So I try not to think about beyond what I have too much, but we all have goals, and I don't know. I'll bet if I could take 20 minutes and let me just have a long 20 minutes of silence, and I'll get right back to you. But but no, man, James Taylor for me, I think is where it started. I think I'd love to just go and see what that is, or if he's got some sort of secret of life.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing you say that, because it's full circle going back to the beginning of this conversation when you're talking about Steve Leslie.
Yeah.
That dude is so good and sounds just like JT. I remember years ago when he and I became friends, and just some of the songs, and when he would cover a James Taylor song just for fun, I'm just like, you close your eyes and be like, man, you're there.
Man, and he's built for that.
Yeah.
And I know he's got kind of a tribute show going on now, and it's amazing. Yeah. I got to see it at rest in peace Douglas Corner a few years ago, and he's perfected it even from that. But that's how we hit it off. Once he figured out that I was such a, and I learned a lot more about James Taylor from Steve.
Yeah.
So he's like, this kid's all right. He's got okay taste, and so he kind of helped me. He really helped me launch all this. So I'm always forever grateful. Let me cut songs of his when I didn't have any songs. I did my first little EP was one that we wrote, and then 3 of his, and it just helped me here, this is kind of what I sound like, just to have something to give people. So always indebted and appreciative of Steve.
Yep. He's a good dude.
He is, man.
Man, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story, and
thanks for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to just keep watching you pour the hits out, and having you back all the time here. It's just always fun. So
I appreciate it, man. Your mouth to God's ears on the hits.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Always end with this question. So if you can go back to East Tennessee to 8-year-old Brinley, everything you've done so far, what kind of advice would you give yourself today?
I think I'd tell myself to start taking guitar lessons earlier. I don't know. Part of me now, where I sit now, wants to go back and tell young me, because it was about 8 or 9 years old that I got bitten by the okay, I really want to do it. So I don't know. I sometimes wonder if I shouldn't go back and tell myself, hey, just focus on the songwriting part of it. But I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't do what I did. So I think I'd tell him not to worry so much. and not to compare so much. It's easy to compare, to look next even to your very best friends. And, you're always happy for them, of course. But like sometimes you're like, well, shoot, I run around with these guys. Like, what's going on? But there's a season for everything. And man, worrying doesn't get anything accomplished. So I think I'd tell little me don't take it so seriously and just have fun, enjoy, be where your feet are and just enjoy it.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's
just enjoy
perfect.
What you got.
Nobody's
See what I
perfect.
did there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely, man.
Great advice. Well, man, thank you again so much. And can't wait to share this with everybody. And just appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Everybody out there listening, thank you again. This has been another episode of Stories Behind the Songs. You've been listening to Brinley Addington. I'm Chris Blair, and make sure you check out the liner notes. We will put links to all of his songs and socials and all of that, and then a booking link, right? We'll put that in there.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
So, once again, appreciate it, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify if you enjoyed this episode, and make sure you click that notification button so you can keep notified when new episodes come out. We release brand new episodes every Tuesday, and you can find us on YouTube at Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to send us a comment letting us know what you thought of the episodes. We love getting your feedback, and share this with your friends. The more we grow, the more that we can keep doing this. It's our mission to bring you all of these great stories behind the songs from some of Nashville's most iconic artists and songwriters, publishers, producers, everyone in between, and a lot of my great friends. We love what we do, and we love sharing their stories with you. We appreciate all of the continued support. Thanks also to all of our sponsors, and we will see you all next week.